Hello. Just waiting to confirm I can hear myself. And I can. Awesome. Hello, everyone. So today's session, we're going to continue to monitor stuff with InfluxDB. No surprises there. And what we're going to look at today is Docker Swarm. I have not touched Docker Swarm in 3 years, maybe a little bit longer, but I'm hoping that not too much has changed. So we're just going to get started. We're going to go for the zero to hero approach, hopefully not zero to failure, where I configure my local machine with Docker Swarm, we spin up InfluxDB2, and we start scraping as many metrics as we can. I'll try and keep this similar to my Kubernetes examples in that we really want to be able to build a dashboard that allows us to have some level of proactive operations and really good alerting, which means we will be focusing on failures and reconciliation and how we can notify ourselves when that is the case. So let's see. We have an empty directory with nothing in it whatsoever. We have a terminal with no magic either. Hopefully I have no containers running. Good. Hopefully Docker Swarm still exists. It does, and hopefully running in it is all I need. Good. I mean, still as simple as ever, which is awesome. And let's see if we can just get InfluxDB deployed pretty quickly then. I don't see there being too many hurdles. I don't know what the latest version is. There's a good point. We'll just use 3 without specifying any point version, and we'll see what happens. We want to define a service, InfluxDB, and we're going to use InfluxDB2 today, which is in beta, and should be deployable like so. We want to expose port 9999 so that we can actually browse to our InfluxDB. And do I care about persistence? I mean, it doesn't hurt. It'll see me doing any setup commands. What was the syntax on this again? Let's see. InfluxDB data. I'm pretty sure that just means local volumes, and we want influx. Oh, this is a list. So InfluxDB data. So InfluxDB2 stores data in a user's root. Not great, but well, it's in beta. That's what we're dealing with. So what else do I need here? I think that's it. Let's do a test. So now that we have a Swarm cluster, I can't, like I said, I've not used Swarm in many years. So we're just going to try and spin this up. And background it. Ah, okay. DC down. And so we want to do a stack deploy. Compose file. I mean, that should be defaulted. All right, when in doubt, use the docs. And So we want to do docker start deploy webby compose file, and we want to specify that. We don't need to specify an orchestrator, I would imagine. Yes. Okay, so what was wrong with -c docker compose? Or did I just stack name? Demo. Ah. Yep, thank you for the assist there. Stack needs a name. Cool. Yeah, so there was a question saying that this tilde here looks wrong. This just means use the default options, which configures a bind mount with the host. It's the same as using a named volume on the Docker container run command. I use it all the time with Docker Compose and local. I have no idea whether that's going to work in swarm mode. But we do have something deployed, so let's just see what's happening first. Oh, don't open that. Okay, so it does look like InfluxDB is running. Let's see what's going on with the volume then. So let's do 48. And it works. Go away. Config. No, you can't see volumes there, can you? Man. Yeah, okay. So we did get a named volume by using a tilde. I mean, if I were running more than one node, probably that's going to fail if it has to be rescheduled. I'm sure there's a really nice way of doing this in swarm mode, but learning their volume implementation is not something I think I want to try and do today. So I'm quite happy just to leverage this named volume and just say, hey, magic, it works. All right, let's see. Can we browse to this then? Oh, computer maybe saying no. All right. Let's take a look at that container ls again. All right, so exposing ports like I normally would does not work. I guess that makes sense. So let's look up the format. I'm sure there is something that I need to publish, expose. 3.8. All right, I'll probably bump it up to that too then. Expose ports without publishing them to the host machine. Nope, don't want that. Ports. Okay, so this syntax is slightly different. Not available since 3.2. And yep, so we want host mode so that we can expose this on Docker Swarm. Nice. So let's just paste this in and 99. Oh, take 9999, 9999, and we don't need to use mode ingress because we only have a single host. Okay, let's update this because we said we would. I said I would do 3.8. I don't know what the differences are, but we'll work it out as we go. So in order to redeploy this, I'm assuming I just run this and Docker is going to do its magic. Oh, it's definitely broken now. Oh, no, there we go. Okay, so what are my swarm commands? What have I got? The services of everything? Nope. Docker swarm. Right, that's just the management stuff. I just want to know if I can view my container without doing container ls, but something that's more swarmy. I guess it's not particularly important. We do have the container running now. This looks much better with regards to publishing. So, aha, nice. We now have access to InfluxDB. So let's set up my user. We'll just call this default. Oh, go. I'm an expert, thank you very much. All right, so we have my bucket. So good progress. We've got Swarm running, InfluxDB running. I now want to understand, from a metrics point of view, what is going on here. So I think what I'm going to do first is hit localhost on 2375 and see if there's a metrics endpoint. No. What port does the daemon run on again? Docker. Yep, useful. 2385? Am I digit off? No, I'm just very wrong. Okay. Docker daemon port. 2376. I really should stop guessing. I know what to do. Let's just run Telegraph. So Telegraph is the collection agent that works with pretty much every time series database. It is by the same company that produced InfluxDB, so the support there is really good as well. But this will speak over Docker Stock or TCP and hopefully grab the metrics. I just assumed the Docker daemon would maybe spit out some Prometheus metrics. Maybe it does. Oh. So we have a comment that the metrics are possibly not on by default. All right, okay, no problem. Thank you for that. So we're just going to copy this example config and then work out what we need. So let's create our telegraph.conf agent. Let's have an interval of 5 seconds, flush interval 5 seconds. Now that just means scrape the metrics every 5 seconds and write them to the database every 5 seconds. We then want to enable inputs Docker plugin. And we're not going to use the socket because we're going to run this. I can just run it on a host, couldn't I? No, let's deploy it. So TCP, I know that if I deploy it, I won't have access to the daemon. Oh, there we go. That'll do. Gather services. All right, nice. So it's even got some Swarm stuff going on here. So let's say yes to that. Container names, yep, stupid setting. Source tag. So set the source tag for metrics to the container ID hostname. I don't know if we need that yet. We'll come back to that one. Let's not include or exclude anything. Timeout. Choose the default. Per device, where to report for each container per device, block IO and network stats or not. Well, yeah, I think so. Where to report for each container total block IO or network stats or not. Yeah, false. True. Okay. Don't need this. Don't care about that, and don't care about that. Nice. Okay. Now, before I write this to InfluxDB, I'm going to just run it locally, output into a file, standard out specifically, so that I can see what I get back. I'm going to run telegraph, point it to this config, wait 5 seconds. It's going to spit some stuff out, and we'll see what we have. We have lots. All right. Cool. Let's write it to InfluxDB then. I guess that was pretty easy. No outputs. InfluxDB v2 URLs equals. So our InfluxDB, if I run Telegraph locally, so I can use the Docker socket rather than TCP, then InfluxDB will be available on 127.9999. We need to specify the organization, which I believe I made my username. The bucket, I believe I called default, and we'll need a token, which we have not lifted yet. So let's come into here and grab our token. Cool. Now, rather than logging up that terminal, I will just leave Telegraph running here. I'm going to wait 5 seconds to confirm that it can write to my influx, and then close this tab and forget about it. There you got it. Okay, no errors, which means we have metrics. Sweet. So let's see, what have we got? Oh, we've got the total memory. This is on the machine, which means if I pop open this, what's max usage? Max usage is now blue. Cool. We have the number of containers. So let's also break that down. So click go. We've got 5 containers, 4 stopped, 1 running, 0 paused. Cool. Number of images. I have 20 images. File descriptors. Yeah, whatever. What else we got? We've got disk IO stats. Let's avoid that for now. We got CPU. Let's see. We got usage stats. You can see that going up as I'm playing around with influx. Cool. Let's jump into memory. Let's have a look at mapped. Residual set size, cache, usage 60%. That'll be pretty standard. Okay. Now let's see if we can take a look at some of that swarmy stuff. This is just all, standard Docker stuff. There's a dashboard we can import. Hopefully it gives us a pretty good look at all of that. Network stuff, container statuses, cool, and then this. So that's not a lot of information we're going to get out of this. It looks like we might have to kind of pry the metrics out of Docker Swarm or find out how to turn on something a bit more substantial from the service layer. Although I guess, I'm used to the Kubernetes metrics. There's a lot of moving parts in Kubernetes. Swarm is much simpler. Maybe that's all you need. Like, is my running different from my desired? Send an alert. We'll play around with that in a minute. We'll maybe try and put some resource limits or reserve some resource for pods for containers that don't need it, and see what happens when we try and schedule more. Yeah, let me think about that. We'll come up with some failure scenarios. Now, because this is a new InfluxDB, we have no dashboards. So we're going to import some dashboards. Let's get community templates. Has anyone done or created a Docker dashboard? Good. All right. Let us apply this. So we paste this command in. That's going to fail. We need some authentication credentials. So we're going to use the org here. We also need a token, which we'll just apply globally. And I will copy that once more. Really keep that handy. Copy. And apply. We get this big preview. If I shrink my font down, you can just see that it's creating some labels, creating a telegraph config for us, and some dashboards. So, yes, okay that. Pop this back again. Come over here. And why did it create a bucket called Dave? Did I do that? This creates a bucket called Docker. I don't think templates should create buckets. I need to feed that back. Where did Dave come from? Well, that needs fixed. Anyway. So we don't have a Docker bucket, but we do have a default bucket. So we've got some stats working. Good. We don't have anything for number of images. Let's just run this manually, see what's broken. So, it's got a hard-coded bucket name. It would appear there are numerous problems with this template, but nothing we can't fix. Ta-da! Somebody remind me to send a PR to this repo. vbucket run. Good. Good. All right. Do I really want to go and fix all of these? We should, shouldn't we? So this is okay. So this is looking for metrics from a different plugin that's not Docker. And I think if we take a look inside here, it did create a telegraph config. And if we just pop down, we'll actually be able to see the inputs that the dashboard wants us to use. Now, I didn't use this config. Perhaps I should have. We've got total and that on, so maybe I'll steal a bit of that. But what I want just now is these missing plugins to give me the extra metrics that we want. So these are just host level metrics. So plugins that we have here, let's just indent this properly. We have the CPU plugin, we've got the disk IO plugin. Yeah, we're going to ignore random disks that we don't care about, temp, dev, squash, overlays. We're also pulling in inputs and metrics for our disk IO, kernel, mem, net, processes, swap, and system. I mean, this is pretty much, if you want to do Linux system monitoring, these are the exact plugins that you should be running, so that's great. So we'll just kill telegraph, spin that back up with the new config. Maybe turn that back on later. I'm not particularly fussed. And let's just quickly run through any missing bucket changes. Now, these all seem okay. I think it's just we need to wait for that data to come in. So let's hit refresh. Cool, much better. Well, except this white space. Gonna bug me. Okay, so this dashboard gives us an overview of Docker metrics, right? Fine. We've got the daemon, number of images. Don't think I'd ever really. I mean, I don't particularly care how many images are on my host. I'm probably more interested in how much disk the images are consuming. I'm curious if we can get that metric. So let's see. So Docker, this one. So we've got number of images. I don't think it exposes the size of those images. I wonder if that's something that Docker doesn't expose through its metrics endpoint, or just something that the Telegraph plugin isn't consuming. I'll maybe do a wee creative Google on Docker metrics in a minute. We can always send a PR to Telegraph to try and make this a bit more all encapsulating. But all right, so total number of containers. Yeah, I mean, I definitely probably want to keep an eye on how many containers are running on my machine. More so, I want to track the CPU and memory, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Number of running containers. Yep, standard. Yep, I have an 8-core machine and 16 gig of RAM. Okay, system status. Yep, I reboot my computer almost every day. My uptime never gets long. My load average is a little bit higher than I would like, but I am streaming. Swap usage should hopefully be 0. Yep. What do we got here? System load. Yeah, that's going to chop and change. Let's stick this on a refresh. I mean, as we do more stuff, spin up more containers, we'll see that fluctuate. Same with the CPU usage. Memory usage, I'm at 20%. Happy with that. Network. Let's see. So this is per container. That's my one container that I have running. And that's just going to be the actual data that's been streamed to this dashboard, to the host. We could maybe try and inflate that, run a few commands inside the container, and try and cause some spikes, do some alerting. Then we have the disk usage. Of course, this is going to increase pretty linear, because I'm writing the same number of metrics every 5 seconds. So I would expect this not to fluctuate too much. Obviously, there was a Telegraph restart. Is that what that is? Yeah, I think so. And it's been climbing back up. So that would... It's not as that... disk usage? Yeah, I have no idea what's going on here. Why is it going down? I'll work that out in a minute. Okay, memory consumption is going up. Wouldn't have expected that. Although we are streaming stats to this dashboard, so Flux will be caching some of these metrics in memory. So maybe there would be a small increase here. Okay, we've got some information. I think let's just take this a little bit further. Let's just grab the Linux template too. And that gives us a pretty complete look at my laptop. Okay, so let's just grab this command and change the URL. Oops. So we don't need to start bit again. Go. And if we come to dashboards, we now have Linux system. Let's do 5 minutes, auto refresh, and default bucket. Perfect. Okay. Good progress. I like this. But we don't really have a complete look at what's going on. I wonder if we could deploy. So my thought process right now is let's deploy a rogue container. Either one that's going to fill my disk or eat my RAM. In fact, let's not eat my RAM. It might affect the stream. I've done that before. We'll maybe try and consume some disk, maybe a container running dd right into a file, 4 meg increments, see what happens. Try and alert on that. We also want to deploy some failed containers, so let's try and simulate that first. So if we come back to the compose file, let's assume we have command not found, image, Alpine 3.9, entry point of ash but spelled wrongly, and restart always. In fact, let's not do always, just, yeah, maybe? Yeah, let's just do always. I was going to say maybe we'll do our on failure with a max retries to see that stop trying to be rescheduled. But I'll need to look up the compose syntax for that. And I don't know how compose handles it. Like Kubernetes would do a crash loop back off, some sort of exponential back off before it keeps obviously trying to fix the reconciliation. I have no idea what Swarm is going to do. So let's stack deploy. Restart. I guess we're looking up that syntax a little bit quicker. Docker compose config. So anyone who's watching, if there are questions that you want this dashboard to answer, especially if you have any sort of Swarm experience, now is the time to put those in the chat and I will make sure I cover them all. Okay, so restart policy. How do you set a limit? Oh, let's just put it in. What did I get wrong there? Oh, okay, so we have some deploy configuration. All right, okay, it's kept separate from the old compose stuff. Okay, got it. Will we run container ls? It did take a few seconds last time, so no watches there. But it will be failing, so yeah, there we go. Alpine, 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 fail, fail, fail. And what does that look like from a metrics point of view then? Okay, so our number of containers is going to continually increase every time that gets created and fails to start. But our number of running containers is never going to increase. So there's definitely something that shows us there's alerting potential there. Although that did clean up one or two there. So what about okay? So I guess what we've found out now is that this dashboard is very much just for Docker daemon without Swarm mode. So I think what we really want to do is just create a run. Well, let's call this our Swarm dashboard. And what I want to add first is anything that tells me this is broken. And we already seen those two stats earlier, so let's get them sorted. So we're going to come into our Explorer view. We're going to click on Swarm, and we want both of these values. Over the last 5 minutes, and what we have here is 0 running. Hold on, let me view the raw data. The tasks desired InfluxDB. And oh, there we go. Task desired 1. And if task running 0. Okay. Why is that not visible here? Okay, let's just view one at a time. Okay, so task running 0. And if I filter task desired. Oh, where's my desired for? Oh, that's why it's looking weird. Okay, script editor time. View raw data. Let's just grab how many tables do we have? Right, we've got 1, so that's 1 for each Docker image. Now we only want to grab the last value per table, flatten those tables. In fact, that'll be enough. And actually, it's the last knowing state or desired value state for each of our service names. So for anyone that's not familiar with InfluxDB2 and Flux, let me quickly run over what the hell just happened there. So we pull from a bucket, which is just like a database or table and any other kind of general database. We have this range statement which just says show me values at start and stop. So anything in between these and the start and stop is based on this selector here. We're filtering on only the swarm measurements and we're just looking at one field, which is tasks desired. Now, because these metrics are emitted every 5 seconds, we're going to see a value every 5 seconds here, and we get a different table for each series. A series is based on the group key, which by default is all of the tags. Now, because the service name is a tag and we had 2 values for that tag, we get back 2 tables. What we'll see if I scroll down here, this is going to be table 0 and this will be table 1 because these values change. Now, we don't care about every single point every 5 seconds for the last 5 minutes. So we're going to last that, which means we get back 2 points. Table 0 for the last point on InfluxDB, and table 1 is the last point for demo command not bound. We can then use an empty group key to flatten that to a single table, and we get back this data like this. Now that won't be something we can view here. If we remove this group, it will be, because we have 2 unique series, but we only have 1 point. So when I do something like this, what I actually want to do is usually work with a single stat, some sort of panel that just says these are how many containers that we desire. So I'm going to bring this in to flatten it, and the reason that I flatten it is that I can now sum. And now I get a single value that says we have 2 containers desired. And what I want to do is single stat, turn off this, and we have that. So containers desired, tasks, sorry, form chat tasks. So let's clone this and let's have tasks running. What was that field called? Usually the autocomplete works on the data. I'm not sure what's going on there. Tasks. Yeah, there we go. Task running. Now, at a glance, we have this indicator that says, hey, these values are not the same. Let's see if we can make that slightly more visual now. So we're going to have a nice big graph to show the discrepancy over time. what we're going to, I guess, I mean, from any orchestration system, there are going to be differences between actual and desired state. It's not a problem until that, that difference has been running for too long. So let's get back down to our graphable view. And what we want now, let's get rid of this. Let's just graph it for now. Maybe do something with that single stat layer. So we can very much see these lines are parallel. Right? Desired state has never been realized. In fact, we're only, wait, what? Yeah, we've got that running and that is running on 0. So let's not filter on that field. Bring in everything. Let's calculate. Let's try and do something weird. This is my problem on these streams, is that I have random ideas in my head and I think, I wonder if I can make this work. But what I want to do is pull out these points, actually calculate the difference between desired and actual for each task, so that either a container being rescheduled or failing should show as a blip on a graph rather than parallel lines. So let's see if we can make that work. So let's get the view data so I know what I'm working with. I need to change the group key. So what we're going to see, we've seen earlier we had 2 tables, right? We had, because we were only filtering on a single field, the only thing that changed per table was the value of tag, which was the task name or service name. Now we should see 4. Yeah. 0, 1, 2, and 3. And that's because the field is also part of the group key and that changes. So our field here is task desired. And then we have task running. We want 2 tables, 1 per series, and both of those fields available to us so that we can map over them, do the subtraction, hopefully. To be honest, I've had a lot of problems trying to do some of these operations in Flux, but I'm confident. I'm sure I sound confident. So change the group key, columns. We want to group on our measurement. So the fact that we're querying Docker Swarm, we want to group on, I mean the host isn't important, but it doesn't change, so we'll just throw it in there. And the service ID. I should have 2 tables. And inside of those tables, multiple fields. Yes. We want to pivot from a columnar structure to a row-based structure. So our column key is field. Our row key is service ID. Yeah, we want to make rows where the service ID is the same. We identify columns to be pivoted by field, and our value is a value. Nice. So now we have 2 tables, and we have our tasks desired and our tasks running. But I have lost time. So we still want points. We still want multiple records per table with the time. And that just means I need my group key to include time. So let's add time. Okay. We're getting there. We still want a service name too. Right? I don't want to work with that service ID that we have there. Okay, service names. So now we have these. Now, because the group key includes the time, that means we're going to get a table for every entry. So now that we've pivoted it, we can then regroup again. I know this is pretty confusing. It just takes a little bit of time and patience to kind of get used to it. So we want to then, we basically just want to copy this but remove time. But we wanted the records to survive the pivot. So I hope that makes sense. If not, I can go over that again. Good. So now table 0 is always going to be our InfluxDB service name. These are the values every 5 seconds. And when we get to table 1, it's this one, but the same. So this should be graphable. Kinda. So now what we want to do is map over each of these points and diff these two integers. So we're going to do a map which takes a function, and what we want to do is r with, so record with a new value called diff, which is equal to r tasks desired, which should always be the same or higher than tasks running. Will it? I guess if I scale down, we can deal with the odd negative integer, right? Minus our tasks running. Oh, what did I get wrong? Oh, how does the with syntax work again? R with. When in doubt, docs. Let's see. Do we have an example in map? With. Oh, we do. With. Oh, broke it. Go back to map. Where spell. There you go. R with new. Yeah, that's what I've got, right? Does it just want me to block that off? Yeah, okay. So we should have an extra column, which is always going to be 0 for InfluxDB, but I'm hoping, yeah, for command not found, we now have an indicator that, hey, we've been trying to schedule one or more containers. All right, what else do we need? We want to rename this value so we can graph it. So hopefully, good. Now, we've still got parallel lines, but we now have the context that means anything above 0 is bad. Can we clean up this chart in any way? Just to make it easier. Not really much. I mean, I could set this to be, 0 and 10, which gives us a bit more. I don't know, I find that's slightly easier to consume, but we've set this max limit that we don't really want. I don't really want it broken down to units less than 1, but I just don't think I can configure that in any way. Yeah, we'll just need to make our piece pivot for now. I guess we can always deploy a few extra workloads. See what happens. Why did that crash there? There we go. Okay. So these are interesting. I didn't expect. Did we not make this running? No. There we go. Okay, so we have a Docker Swarm dashboard. I can see tasks desired 2, tasks running 1, and I have a graph that shows me, hey, this has been running pretty poorly for at least 5 minutes. If we set this to an hour, okay, so our data is, well, we have not been doing this an hour, so 15 minutes. Yeah, it's been broken the entire time. So let's just fix it so we can see that graph work in a healthy fashion. Now, if I just do sleep command, because Docker fucked up that syntax. I don't mean that too much. Docker stack deploy. That container should be happy running at sleep. Yep. Give that 5 seconds. Good. Graph is happy. So before we go and look into the, I think there's potentially metrics that Docker Swarm is exposing that we're not consuming on a Telegraph plugin. And I want to dig into that a little bit. I would love to understand if we can get stuff like the total amount of disk being consumed by images, volumes, maybe that is available. I'll double check before I waste any time on that. But I want to do an alert and example on just this reconciliation. Then we will maybe dig into something else for 10 or 15 minutes. I've not had any questions about things that they want this dashboard to answer. I'm assuming, I mean, this is the big one, right? Any orchestration system is the same. Is when does my desired state deviate from the actual state? And that's what I want to alert on, especially if it's been that way for a certain predefined set of time. Like, I expect my desired state and my actual state to be different for a very short period of time. And you can decide what that level of safety is. So let's alert. There's a really cool website called rbox.app, which just allows you to create an HTTP endpoint. I'm going to use this to receive my alerts. Now, InfluxDB 2 ships with built-in alerting, which will also be exported to YAML when I export this dashboard. So, in fact, these have already been imported from one of those 2 different package community templates that I imported. I don't know which. And it created an HTTP post on localhost alert. Well, I mean, that's going to fail. Let's turn that off. So we could use Slack or PagerDuty. I'm more than happy to use RBox for the time being. We're going to send a push request to this location and click go. I want to create a first a deadman alert, which will trigger by killing Telegraph. And what we're going to say is when we stop receiving metrics from Docker Swarm, then that is bad. Oh, I should have named it. So Docker Swarm state. We're going to schedule this every 15 seconds. We don't need an offset. We'll just add a tag of Docker Swarm. And if I don't get these 2 values for 2 windows, 30 seconds, which I know is probably a bit hasty, we'll set the status to critical. In fact, no, we'll set it to warn and stop checking after 5 minutes. You know, if nobody has Let's just do critical. Yeah, if we don't get a value for 2 missing windows, notify the world. Something else that I want to create is my threshold check, where these 2 values, oh, can I not write flux here? That's not going to work. That's annoying. Why can I not write flux? Okay, so our threshold check isn't going to allow us to let us do the math that we want. However, I have a plan. So let's click when anything goes to critical, schedule every 30 seconds, please. Use this RBox one, go, thanks. If I wanted to filter this purely on the Docker swarm, I can do Docker swarm. And I can have my other alerts not filter on that tag. Okay, let's quickly go back to my dashboard. I want to copy my query from here. And what I'm going to do is write a task. Let me think this through. So, alert on desired versus actual state. We're going to run every 30 seconds. And we're going to fetch 30 seconds worth of metrics. We've created a new field. Now we have 2 options. We can either use this as a tutorial of downsampling data, writing it back into the bucket, or we trigger the alert straight from here. I've never done either, but I'm going to use that same confidence I had earlier. So if we want to send an HTTP alert, what we need to do is import HTTP. We can, instead of, let's push this down, comment it out. If we open a block and see if our tasks desired minus our tasks running greater than 0. I can't even remember. Let's check this out. Conditionals. If then, oh, it's just if then. Yeah, I got it. So if then, can I do it without anything else though? No. Okay. If then else false. But the if then is going to be that we want to do an HTTP post URL. Talk about making this shit up. Yep, at least I got one bit right. Copy you. And we don't need that across multiple lines. Why are you moaning at me? What have I got wrong? Expected write paren. Yep. Now, why are you moaning? If what? Unexpected token for property key if. Alright, let's try and simplify this first. So if true, then true, else false. You like that? No. Alright. Let's look up conditionals again. There's a nice example. Although color doesn't exist. That's going to fail. Green equals green. Oh wait, this is object syntax. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you can use, like we did with the rwith, to add new fields to a dictionary map, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is a map. You got to be careful with the way, and I obviously still really poor at it. But the way you handle multi-line functions, yeah, just too much using other languages. Okay, so now we should have if our task desired minus our tasks running is greater than 0, we send a alert to this endpoint. We don't need headers. And we're going to send some data, and what we want to send is we're going to JSON encode some stuff. So JSON encode b equals blah, which means we have to import JSON. And what we're going to send here is, can I just do a dict where I say the service name and use our service name. Let's also include desired, which is our tasks desired. Oh, what have I got wrong? Oh yeah, I haven't closed that one off. I have no idea what that means. Delete. Oh wait, I've got too many things. There we go. And we'll send actual. So R, like that, which is tasks running. Otherwise, don't do anything. We don't need to do anything with this data, but assuming I get this to work, we will try and do the alternative approach of downsampling the data, writing it into a bucket so that we have the deviation value as part of the values we can fetch in the threshold check. And if that threshold check fails for too long, where the deviation is above 0, we'll alert using the actual built-in alerting system. I think, no, I mean, I know I would always encourage you to create projections and aggregates and tasks and write them back and then alert on those values rather than this. This is kind of a quick and dirty, let's just get an alert running approach. Okay, I found a bool. Why have I got it? Oh yeah, because this. Okay, just return 0. Perfect. So this task will start running within 30 seconds. We do have something above 0, so just a reminder. No, we don't. We fixed it. Healthy graph. There is no shade. So let's break it once more. And we're going to break it. We can just add another E here and do our stack deploy. Awesome. Let's give this 5 seconds, get that spike back up. Within a minute, we should have an alert, which should hopefully be hitting this endpoint. Still nothing yet. And once I see the spike here, I'll come back and we'll attempt the downsample aggregation approach and then use the threshold check, and then I'm going to call it quits. Okay, so we have our failure identified. Nothing yet, but it should hopefully be less than a minute. Let's come back to our task, and I'm going to duplicate this just to stable it while I work on it. Oh wait, that was that one. Oh, surely that's a bug. Is it deactivating based on name? No. That was weird. Okay, so this task is aggregate deviation of desired state. So we don't want to trigger this, and we can let that be generated when we save it, and we do not want this anymore. Instead, we want to add a value. So R with deviation. How do you spell deviation? Yeah. R tasks desired minus R tasks running. Close. And we want to write this data. Let's see if I can remember how to do that. So there is a to function. That's not the Flux docs anymore. Dot to. All right, let's find it. Where we write the data. So once we've mapped it, we probably want to do a filter, and we want to only find our deviation greater than 0. I've got a problem here, and when we had that last time, just that worked. So we've added our filter, is that right? Yep. And now we want to do a to. We're going to write to the same bucket and the same organization. Time column is going to be the same. Now the tags, we don't want to ruin the tags. So we're going to match our group key. So measurement, which I think is actually implicit. So that may cause an error, but we'll see in a moment. Service name. A field function. What's that? I wonder if we want to use experimental too. So there's an experimental to function too. That's a weird sentence, but I've not used either. I wonder if it simplifies that. Yeah. Let's just do that. I mean, that could work, but it just seems like too much work. So I think I need to import experimental, and I think it just magically does stuff with that data. We're going to find out. I'm not entirely sure. This stuff changes a lot. So I think that might be it. One thing I am going to do is try and match my 5-second interval with the raw data. Not something you would normally, in fact, no, it's not something you would, I'm not going to do that. I mean, I could do it, which would give me the ability to graph it the same way I am before, but I don't think I need that resolution, so, and I don't need to complicate myself right now by thinking about it. Alright, unable to edit option. I didn't edit the option. I did remove the option, but that's because I changed this. Yeah, so it initially saved with an option, and it's not going to let me remove it. I guess that's nice of it, so let me cancel, jump back in, copy this. And we'll leave the option. like so, and I'm still going to change the name, so aggregate deviated state. I don't know if that'll update the option for me. Yeah, good, okay. So let's turn that on. Oh, there we go. We don't have anything here. Okay, so let's try and debug that first. So this should have a run log. View the task runs. And we can see something is failing, so a map function must return an object. Right, okay, got it. Let's edit this task. So that was rather silly of me. Let's just return R. Oh, the problem is the type inference knows that this doesn't return R. Can I just do that? Why are you moaning? Why are blocks so weird? Does that work? I really need to dig into that syntax at some point. Okay, it's based on an operator between two expressions. I just want to return R. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not doing this a functional way, am I? I'm actually, now that I think about it, I'm glad that it's yelling at me. Let's do the map like we did with the downsampling. I mean, yeah, being stupid. Let's do R with desired is equal to our value here. And then filter and we want R desired. I know I'm using different access or syntax here. I don't know why I just did that. And then for each record that fails, we'll map over and send an alert. And we're going to do a post. I don't even know how many of those I need. So we got the JSON encode and the URL. And then this. And map. And return R. Oh, I've got everything wrong now. Right, I need the extra one here. I think that's me. Yes, I've got these two expressions again. I think when you do, oh, come on. I really need to just understand how the blocking works, don't I? Block. So we can use, so it is. So maybe, okay, so if that means object, this is block, wing it. All right, so while we wait on that, hopefully sending an alert now, I'm going to go try and set up the threshold with the downsampled data. So we should start to see two different alerts coming through, which means I want to now create this threshold check, and I'm hoping I can see my deviation. Aha! Ah, good. What do we need? Schedule 30 seconds. I'm pretty sure I added a filter to the notifications. Critical is when it is above. In fact, when it's above 0, right, let's just alert on everything. Obviously, we could do this, but we want to alert whenever our deviated state goes too long. So it is above. Good. And normally I would, we wouldn't run this every 30 seconds, but let's just try and make some noise here. Okay, so threshold check should be running. We have downsampled data. The alert is pending. Let's go back to our task. And aggregation still working fine. This one's failing. Is it still me? Is it something I have done? Cannot compile. Statement does nothing. Side effects are not supported by the compiler. You do nothing. What does nothing? Don't need that. Don't know why it formatted it like that. What does nothing? Is it the map? Okay, let's with HTTP result. I think this returns something. Oh yeah, we need to do that thingy. Oh, I have no idea what I'm doing anymore. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Expected the right brace, got right paren. Am I not closing my R? I get so 1, 2, boom. Right, shove that side effect up you. I don't know why I'm being rude to my compiler. Sorry. Just anxious. Why did my... Okay, so we're going to come back to this one in 30 seconds, and I'm going to come over here, and I want to know why my threshold check, deviation, threshold check, hasn't alerted. So when changes from, because it's when it changes from OK to critical. So I need to make that healthy. So make you healthy. We'll come back to our dashboard. Oh, almost the exact same amount of time. Healthy now. Okay, so I want that to be healthy for 30 seconds so that we get one threshold check that passes. I mean, I could just have updated the threshold check and said it doesn't really matter, but let's try and do this properly. And we're going to make this fail again momentarily. I think that's been 30 seconds. Boom, boom, boom. We'll wait for this to fail. Our box should still be sitting empty. Come on, computer, do my bidding. Yay. Right. So, while we're waiting, let's view that deviation straight up rather than calculating it. So we can clean up this dashboard now. What we actually want to graph let's just add on another filter. Now it doesn't matter if you do these all in one filter or multiple filters when they're right next to each other. The query planner does understand what to do. We want, what did I call it? Deviation. There we go. So, aggregation we know is working, we've just seen that in the graph. This should be doing a post, not yet. When did it last run? Right now. Ah. Awesome. I think it's alerting quite a few times. Oh, I've been alerting for the last 5 minutes. Did I just not refresh the page? Oh, I feel silly. Anyway, we now have our alerting. So which one is this? Actual desired and service name. Actual desired service name. So these are all of the alerts that are being sent by the task and not the threshold check. So let's just look at our task. And that does the JSON encode with those fields. So that's what we're seeing. And our alert, we should be getting a message that looks like this. Which should be running every 30 seconds. It has docker equals swarm and the value is above 0. What have I got wrong? Docker equals swarm. Right, let's just go any. I just want to see one come through. So that should be triggering. Let's disable this. Still want that. We still want this. We still want this. Docker swarm check. Find query. We can see that it's failing. Configure the check. Value is above 0. Critical. That's good. Look at that. Ah. Breaking everything. Why are you not sending threshold check? Let's view the history. So we can see what we do definitely set the level to critical. And let's view the history here. There are no notifications. And the status goes from NA to critical. I wonder if I just didn't have it okay enough. I guess critical to critical just might be a rule that doesn't trigger. Let's double check. I'm going to cheat. Let's wait for that to just pass. I want to see this just say all good. Right, okay, so now we've got it okay. Come back in and we'll say 0. And we will view the history and we will wait for it to return to critical and we will get our notification. Mental note, 5-second runtime. Give me my notification, please. All right, good. And over here, we're still getting nothing. Well, that's obviously not working. I don't know why it's saying no notification here. I mean, we quite clearly have sent notifications. Last updated 2 minutes ago. Why are you not last updated now? Come on, just do it. Ah, you know what? I'll fix it later. I don't know what the problem there is. Wow, and I've been streaming for a fair amount of time, so I'm going to call it quits there. What did we do? We used Docker Swarm to deploy InfluxDB 2. We deployed Telegraph. All of these snippets of code, I know there's not much in this particular example, but this compose file and the telegraph.conf, and I'll add a readme with the 2 dashboards that I applied from the community templates. And I'll also export this to YAML as well. These can all be found on gitlab.com/rawcode/influxdb-examples. And there will be, within the next 10 minutes, a Docker Swarm folder here. Now, I still think there's a lot of work we can do with the Docker Swarm dashboard. I definitely think there are metrics in Telegraph that we can try and find with regards to image size, disk usage stuff. Just the stuff that's not covered by the Linux template, a lot of that is already there, particularly on this dashboard. You know, oh bucket, no, where did all my data go? InfluxDB, you're letting me down today. Yeah, so we do have disk usage and all that there, but I would like to see that as a breakdown by images, particularly around splitting down on a tags, being able to identify, if you deploy the same image frequently. It'd be really useful to know how many different variations of the tags are spread across all of your Swarm nodes and how much disk space is being consumed, how quickly you can clean that up. I think there's a whole little bit of kind of just those nicety things that we can add, but I will tackle that another time. Thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Feel free to tweet me with ideas for new things you want me to run through with InfluxDB 2, and I would be more than happy to do that. So thank you very much.